Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. If you are a longtime viewer of this channel, you know I love genre movies and games, such as westerns and horror. Another love of mine is the sci-fi genre, and the Xbox has tons of games to offer there. Today, I picked 5 games I wanted to talk about. No extremely obvious choices like Halo are here, and I also wanted to choose games that I have never really spoken about on the channel. But let me know in the comments what you would like to see on the next iteration of this list. All footage was captured from an original Xbox, and I want to thank my YouTube channel members for their support, but let's go ahead and hop on in. First up, let's talk about MechAssault 2 Lone Wolf. This game came out on December 28, 2004 in North America, and later the next year in PAL and Japanese regions. It is an Xbox exclusive developed by Day One Studios and published by Microsoft Game Studios. This is the follow-up to the Xbox Live launch game MechAssault, which was a huge hit on Xbox Live. MechAssault 2 takes the same mech gameplay of the original and expands upon it to make for something that I've always enjoyed. In this game, you play as Mech Warrior in a futuristic city. Invaders have infiltrated the planet you're on, and you have to fight them. This entry strongly focuses on the plot and characters, and I really enjoy the plot here. The characters are all likable, and there is a solid voice acting cast that helps with that. This pushes this game into something more cinematic with CG cutscenes that are excellent for the time. The character designs and art are top-notch here. I find it a surprise that this one didn't get pushed to an Xbox 360 launch because it's stunning here. The cities you roam around are great, and it has an excellent sense of scale and lighting. The destruction effects are king here though, with holes knocked in the buildings and road destruction being visible, as well as giant explosions. The mech combat is similar to the original. It has you swapping weapons and using your mech to destroy enemies. It's fast and fun, and I think these elements of destruction and its easy to pick up playability help make this an addicting game. Some fundamental changes are here though, and it can be a bit controversial, but I think it's a fun way to spice up the series. In this entry, rather than only controlling the mech, you control the person inside the mech. So when in mech combat, it's the same, but you can actually hijack your opponent's mechs and swap around. It's a frantic part of the game that blew my mind the first time I played it, and I think it adds a fun new element. You can hop on the back of a mech, hack it, and then you just hop into a new one. You also can control vehicles you find and run around on the ground. Mechs are still the focus, of course, but I find it neat that they wanted to branch out and have you be a legend at every type of destruction-based vehicle. The platforming is improved here as well. Jumping around feels excellent, but I love the latching ability. This allows you to attach the walls, recharge your jetpack, and continue upwards. It makes these mechs feel more dynamic, and their movement is great. Hopping around is a blast all over city areas. There's also a multiplayer mode here that had you clanning up and taking over planets in huge battles. This sounded incredible, and I'm ready for Insignia to revive this one. All around, MechAssault 2 is a superb sequel, and I love its sci-fi setting. It really embraces the genre and makes the game well worth checking out.
Sir, you're gonna need to take out those tunnels to stop those enemies.
Next up is Gun Valkyrie, an Xbox exclusive released on March 19, 2002. It would get released in Europe and Japan later that year. This was developed by Smilebit and published by Sega. Sega had some great exclusive releases on the original Xbox, and this game is no exception. It's an odd one, but ambitious in a lot of ways. It does some neat things and can be a bit hard to get into with its odd control scheme, but once you get a handle on it, it's a good time. So to get this out of the way, this game is arcadey and fast with an odd design choice. Movement is king here, and you will be moving all around dodging bullets and enemies that come at you. You need to use your jetpack to jump up in the air and click the left stick to boost in all directions. It gets tough and requires accurate dodging as you get late into the game. It's a lot to do when you have to boost by clicking in the stick, and it can be a workout for the hands. I think it's neat though, and I always like games that don't strive for the status quo, which this really doesn't. It does something new and the movement options feel cool. I think platforming around is a blast, and the free-flow form of movement makes it feel like you're breaking the game at times to get into far-off areas. It is far from perfect though, it can become cumbersome, and the movement without boosting isn't the best. So it's definitely not for everybody. However, aesthetically, this game looks excellent and is a great looking experience. It's crazy to see such a great, distinct look out of a game like this for such an early Xbox title, which I appreciate. The muted color palette matches the steampunk adjacent world in which it exists. It still allows itself to be vibrant though, with a crisp look. A lot of these areas have interesting vistas and platforms, and it feels like a world with a terrific concept that I would have loved to have seen get developed into more sequels. The story is set in an alternate science fiction reality where the British Empire rules the Earth and technology has progressed with the passing of Halley's Comet. You get to play two characters as they wipe out an insect invasion, but I like how it aesthetically works and leads to something unique to match its odd controls. The music is fantastic too, with some great breakbeat and synth tracks. It's catchy and fits the world that it's in. A lot of the levels wouldn't be as fun without the ripping electronic tracks matching the action. Gun Valkyrie could be considered a style over substance game, but personally I feel if style is the intention and it's done well, it can work. Uniqueness and an artistic vision to do something different will always have a soft spot for me. Gun Valkyrie has odd controls and is insanely hard due to them, yet it's unique, and once you get into a groove, it can be addicting. Racing around and shooting enemies becomes fun, and getting high scores along with it becomes one of the most original experiences on the Xbox. If you have a taste for the weird, play this one. Next up is Area 51, a horror and sci-fi genre matchup. It is a reboot of the light gun series of the same name, published and developed by Midway. It came out on the PS2 and Xbox on April 25th, 2005 in North America, and soon saw releases in Europe and Australia with a PC port. I only played this recently, but I played a ton of this demo on the Mortal Kombat Deception disc. That demo has stuck with me for a while, and after playing it, I think this is a good time and is a fun first-person shooter. In this game, you play as Ethan Cole, voiced by David Duchovny, which is an obvious X-Files connection. You travel down into the depths of Area 51, where a virus is wrecking all of the personnel and creating horrors that you and your squad must kill. You use your biosuit and many different weapons to kill them, but you get mutated along the way, and you can use some abilities to make your combat easier. Overall, as far as gameplay goes, you're not getting anything completely fresh. It is a first-person shooter of the era and plays like one. You're going to go through rooms and use machine guns and shotguns to kill enemies that are coming at you. It does control fluidly though, and I'm somebody who likes an excellent playing first-person shooter, and there's something about shooting enemies coming at you that's a simple, good time. If you like a fun shooter, the gameplay here works and the level design is solid. It all takes place within an industrial-looking area, and it's in shambles. There are fires, explosions, and many different areas where the enemies can sneak up behind you and attack. I remember finding the demo scary, but this game does not have that same mood today. That is not to say it isn't effective though. I like the enemies jumping in your face and running at you like an unstoppable force. It makes it so intense. You must constantly use melee attacks with your weapons because you are continually bombarded. The aesthetics are nice here, and it has a good look for the time. It's a crisp game running at 480p, and though the levels you are in are cramped, they have good detail. This is a simple shooter, and I think there's a good amount of fun in that. I like its story, which has a heavy sci-fi emphasis, and anything involving aliens is a good time. It feels like a fun B-movie, and I like that kind of thing. Area 51 is a cool shooter, and this one I think deserves a second look. Next, we have another alien-themed game, Destroy All Humans. This was released for PS2 and Xbox in North America on June 21st, 2005, and saw European and Australian releases a few days later. It has since been ported and remade, It was published by THQ and developed by Pandemic Studios. Pandemic was an excellent developer back in the day, and this is a great one in their lineup. Their unique gameplay choices still stand out to this day, and I got this one when it was new back in 2005, and it was one I couldn't put down. Going back to it, I still think there's a lot of fun here. In this game, you play as Crypto, a Furon who is on Earth looking for a lost clone of his species, but you also need to harvest the brains of humans to level your character up and further your race. On top of all that, this game is set in the 1950s and is a parody of that point in time to an extreme. Destroy All Humans is a game with humor that is actually funny and has constant references to the politics of the time. One of my favorite moments is when you are pretending to be the mayor, and you have to convince the crowd that there is no alien invasion. You get to choose the dialogue options, which end up being you being overly patriotic and diverting attention.
The next time you see a strange light moving and changing direction at incredible speed in the night sky, you just think to yourself, no commie's gonna distract me from my patriotic duty with a couple of bottle rockets. No, sir.
Moments like this give this game a nice lightheartedness. The gameplay is neat here too, which is played in the third person. You get weapons like lightning guns and probes that make people's brains explode. You collect their brains to get DNA to level yourself up along the way. You also get a UFO that can fly around in different towns and blow up vehicles and wreck buildings. All of these sections control well and are a blast. Yet it's the specific Furon powers that I find to be the most entertaining part of the game. For one, Crypto can pick things up with his brain. It allows you to pick up and toss objects and humans at will. The ragdoll effects here are fantastic and wacky. I always get so much satisfaction from knocking flying bodies into people and seeing them get thrown all around. I love the stealth here too, which has you copying images of humans, allowing you to blend in with anyone you want. Another bit of fun humor in this game is your ability to read thoughts. Back in the day, I enjoyed just walking around and seeing all of the unique lines that the citizens had. I also think it looks great on the Xbox, supporting 480p and widescreen. It's such a unique and fun experience all around, it is just a plain good time. No matter how you choose to play this game, it's worth playing. The final game on today's list is Star Wars Republic Commando. This was released for the Xbox and PC on March 1st, 2005, and has been ported elsewhere since. It was developed and published by LucasArts. Now, I said there were no apparent choices on this list, and here comes a Star Wars game. But the list felt wrong without one. There are 14 total Star Wars games on the Xbox, and I went for this one because I was looking at the list of Star Wars games on the console, and I had played them all at some point except for this one. So I played a good amount of this one this year, and I really enjoyed it. This game is set within the Clone Wars, and you play as the Delta Squad. You are the squad leader and command your specialized troops across many levels, exploring different locales in the Star Wars universe. The story is cool here because it's a deeper exploration of this time in Star Wars history, and the characters are entertaining. They all have excellent voice work done for them, and it's an intriguing part of Star Wars lore. I had a lot of fun following the plot and commanding my squad. This is a first-person shooter on the Xbox, and it is a bit forward-thinking for the time, giving me a feeling of Rainbow Six mixed with Call of Duty. The shooting is easy, and aiming down your sights with the left trigger feels excellent. I said earlier that I like shooters, and this one is no exception. It's fun just to blast away at enemies. This game has a bit of a linear level design, but I don't mind that personally. It's interested in leading you through story beats, and it has some great setups for action. It works exceptionally well whenever you command your squad. I love placing the demolition expert and blowing up doors, or positioning the sniper to get great shots. I never would have expected a Star Wars game where you siege through doors like a military game, but it's fun to see. This is another good-looking Xbox game coming in at the end of the console's lifespan. It's a darker game, but the Star Wars universe is captured well here. I think there's a lot of fun details thrown around, and I also like the character models for the troopers and the enemies. The music is also excellent here, but that's to be expected. A lot of John Williams music is used, which is classic stuff you can't go wrong with. However, I do like that there are original compositions here too, to add some variety to the sound, especially for people who have played so many Star Wars games that you've heard this music over and over again. At its core though, Republic Commando is just a great sci-fi based shooter. It offers something different from the rest of the Star Wars games on the console. There are other first-person shooters, but this one felt like a cool riff on Call of Duty, which I don't mind at all. It makes for some nice playing controls and great set pieces. I had a blast with this one, and it's worth playing for any Star Wars fan. But that wraps it up for today. I hope you enjoyed this list. Leave a like as it really helps me out in the algorithm. Comment below with sci-fi games you love if you love some on this list or if you have other choices. Subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. And I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.